The Krell Armada had carved through the outer rim like a plague, consuming 3 star systems in as many weeks. Their biomechanical warships, grown rather than built, pulsed with an alien malevolence that made even hardened soldiers question their sanity. Commander Emma Reeves stood on the bridge of the Defiant, watching the tactical display with cold, calculating eyes as 17 Krell dreadnoughts converged on the besieged colony of New Hebron. "They're not stopping," Lieutenant Elijah Cross reported from his station, his fingers dancing across holographic controls. "The colony's shields are at 12%, maybe 15 minutes before they're breached." Emma's jaw tightened. New Hebron held 40,000 souls. Farmers, engineers, children who'd never seen Earth's blue skies. The evacuation shuttles had managed to lift barely a third of them before the Krell had translated into the system with their reality-bending drives. "How long until the Victorious arrives?" Emma asked, though she already knew the answer would disappoint her. 4 hours at maximum burn," Elijah replied, his voice carefully neutral. The flagship and its battle group were still racing from the Kepler sector, summoned too late to matter. Emma studied the tactical situation with the practiced eye of someone who'd spent 15 years in the void. The Krell were methodical, almost ritualistic in their approach. They'd encircled New Hebron like predators around wounded prey, their living ships pulsating with bioluminescent patterns that scientists theorized was their form of communication, or perhaps celebration. The Defiant was alone. A single Terran destroyer against an armada that had shattered fleets. By every tactical assessment, by every strategic doctrine taught at the Academy, Emma should have withdrawn. Preserved her ship and crew for the larger battle to come. Let New Hebron fall and save the Defiant to fight another day. She'd never been particularly good at following doctrine. "Elijah," Emma said quietly, her voice cutting through the bridge's tense atmosphere. "Remember that simulation at the Academy? The Kobayashi Maru scenario?" Elijah's head snapped up, his dark eyes meeting hers. A slow smile spread across his face. "The unwinnable scenario? Yeah, I remember. You hacked the simulation parameters and made the enemy ships allergic to classical music." "I got reprimanded for that," Emma said, allowing herself a brief grin. "But I also got noticed. Because humans don't accept unwinnable scenarios. We changed the parameters." She turned to her crew, each face reflecting the understanding that they stood at the edge of oblivion. "All hands battle stations. Reactor to maximum output. Divert all non-essential power to weapons and shields." "Commander," Elijah said carefully, "even at full power, we can't penetrate their formation. Their point defense will shred our missiles before we get close enough to matter." "That's why we're not going to use missiles," Emma replied. Her fingers flew across her command console, pulling up schematics of the Defiant that most captains never accessed. "We're going to use ourselves." The plan was insane, beautiful in its simplicity, terrible in its implications. The Defiant was equipped with an experimental jump drive, a human innovation that the other species of the galaxy had declared theoretically impossible. Humans had responded by building 17 of them, and installing one on every new destroyer that rolled out of the Mars shipyards. The drive could create micro-jumps, translating a ship across short distances instantaneously. The technology was still temperamental, still dangerous. Ships had been lost testing it. But it offered something that no other species possessed. The ability to appear exactly where you wanted, when you wanted. Without regard for conventional physics, Emma's plan was to jump the Defiant into the center of the Krell formation and detonate the ship's fusion reactor. "You're talking about a suicide run," Elijah said, though his hands were already moving to input the calculations. "I'm talking about 40,000 people who deserve to see tomorrow," Emma corrected. "I'm talking about showing the Krell that humanity doesn't surrender. We don't break. We don't bow." But even as she spoke, Elijah was shaking his head, a wild grin spreading across his face. "What if we don't have to die to pull this off?" He brought up his calculations on the main display. "The jump drive creates a massive gravitic distortion when it activates. We've always treated that as a side effect, something to minimize. But what if we maximize it? Jump into their formation, yes, but use the gravitic pulse to disrupt their biomechanical systems. Their ships are alive, Commander. They might be vulnerable to the kind of spatial tearing that the jump creates." Emma studied the math, her mind racing through possibilities. It was still insanely dangerous. The gravitic distortion could tear the Defiant apart as easily as it might damage the Krell. But it offered a chance. A slim, desperate chance that they might actually survive this. "Do it," Emma commanded. "Charge the jump drive, plot coordinates for the exact center of their formation, and pray that human stubbornness is enough to bend physics one more time." The Defiant accelerated, driving directly toward the Krell armada, like a dagger aimed at a giant's heart. The alien ships noticed, of course. Their point defense systems came alive, sending streams of plasma and kinetic projectiles toward the small human destroyer. Elijah's hands never stopped moving, adjusting shield harmonics, routing power, keeping the Defiant alive through sheer determination and brilliant engineering. Jump drive charged. Coordinates locked. "Commander, once we initiate, there's no abort." "Then let's make it count," Emma said. She opened a channel to the entire ship. "All hands brace for jump. And remember, humans wrote impossible into our dictionaries just so we'd have something to cross out." She looked at Elijah one last time. He nodded. "Jump." Reality twisted. The Defiant ceased to exist in normal space and reformed in the heart of the Krell formation, surrounded by 17 massive dreadnoughts. For a single frozen moment, the alien ships registered the impossible. A human vessel appearing from nowhere, violating every known law of physics. Then the gravitic pulse erupted. Space itself screamed. The distortion wave expanded from the Defiant like a god's hammer, tearing at the fabric of reality. The Krell ships, their biomechanical systems finely tuned to natural space-time, convulsed. Their living hulls writhed as the impossible forces shredded their biological components. One by one, the dreadnoughts went dark, their bioluminescent patterns flickering and dying. The Defiant shuddered, hull plating screaming, but held together through human engineering and what Elijah would later swear was sheer spite. When normal space reasserted itself, the battlefield had transformed. 17 Krell dreadnoughts drifted powerless, their systems catastrophically disrupted. The Defiant hung among them, scarred and battered but intact. The battlefield fell silent. On New Hebron's surface, 40,000 colonists watched their sensors in disbelief. A single human ship had broken an armada, not through superior firepower or advanced technology, but through the uniquely human combination of desperation, innovation, and absolute refusal to accept defeat. Emma leaned back in her command chair, allowing herself to breathe. "Status report. Jump drive is slag," Elijah reported, his voice hoarse but triumphant. "We're not jumping anywhere for a while. But we're alive, and they're not." "Signal the colony," Emma ordered. "Tell them humanity stands victorious. And someone get me a damage control team. The Victorious will be here in 4 hours, and I'll be damned if I'm going to let them see the Defiant looking like this." As the crew erupted in ragged cheers, Elijah caught Emma's eye. She smiled. Not the cold commander's smile, but something warmer, more human. "Kobayashi Maru," he said. "Every single time," Emma replied. "We change the parameters." In the void above New Hebron, a human warship drifted among the broken remnants of an alien armada, proof that humanity's greatest weapon had never been its technology or its numbers. It had always been its refusal to lose. The end.